Well, it's a nice sunny morning this morning, and we did have a bunch of snow come through just 2 nights ago. They were claiming, up to 10 inches. We had a whole bunch of rain come first. That's not good because it was right at 30, 32, 34 degrees as the rain was coming. So everybody's afraid everything's going to get frozen. The roads are going to be slick. School got out early on Friday, so it definitely had the potential for being really nasty. And then Friday night into Saturday morning, and then all Saturday, mostly till about 4 or 5 o'clock that afternoon, it was snowing. Big, heavy, wet flakes. You can see out the window. I've got most of it pushed out the way now, but we've had, I don't know, in spots, 8 inches, mostly probably 5.5, 6, so for a good dusting. So as you can hear in the background, we got the space heater going, getting the shop warmed up. I've been down here since daylight. I've been trying to figure out how to get that fuel tank cover off on the 3588, and I've had it lifted up before. Let me turn that space heater off. Hold on. There we go. Now you can hear me. We've had it lifted up before, and I've got the cab enclosure cover off, and I've got it loose. I've had it lifted up a little bit. We've had it up before. I put a new sending unit in the fuel tank last spring, or maybe I just checked it. Anyway, we've had it lifted up before. I just couldn't get it up high enough. So I've been trying to figure out all morning how to get that up high enough that we can completely remove it so I can work on that fuel return. So what I come up with was extending my cherry picker boom. So here's where my cherry picker used to reach. You can see that's not at all close enough. So I put another tube in there, extended her out, and I've got the winch clear down here on the base with a nice big tractor battery running it. So I thought, yeah, that'll work. So we got the chains all hooked up on there, and I raised her up, and we were about here on the top of the fuel tank. I was lacking about a foot. So I thought, man, now what do I do? I've already got it extended out. She's just really kind of past the safety on the tippability of it. It's not heavy enough because we had it up and it didn't tip it. But I thought, man, how am I going to get it steeper? I need to get that thing up higher. I need to get the mast more vertical. That'll make it safer anyway if I get it back over on the wheels, the load anyway. I thought, well, here's what I can do. I can move the top pin up, or I can move this bottom pin, and that'll give me more lift with my cylinder. Man, I really don't want to go cutting that off. Modified the back already for the pulley for the cable. So I thought, well, how am I going to get that thing up steeper? Well, here's what I come up with. Took a piece of square tube that fit very tightly over top of the cylinder, and she stuck in there about that far. And then extended her on up here. And now I've got it just a little bit too long, but anyway, it works. I'm going to get the chain hooked up here in just a second and try it. It's lengthy enough now that as you jack it along, it will actually tip the mast straight up and down, and it'll over center going backwards. So it's definitely high enough now. We just got to get her hooked up there and try it, see how we do. And there's about how high it lifted before I extended the hydraulic cylinder. Now she's way up there in the air. All right, give her a little more lift with the winch. Haha. How about that? We're clear. Sweet. Now we can swing that thing very carefully out of there, and I won't have to worry about it falling on me. I gotta be very careful. We're just barely hooking the chain on the muffler cap, and I don't want to be having to put no window in. So we'll be real careful here and get her slid out. Well, there it is. Clear up in there. I don't know how tall y'all's cherry picker reaches, but this one, it goes pretty goddamn far up now. Okay. Well, remember, here is our return fuel line. Right there, that little guy. And it comes along right there. Goes all the way down and around to the back fuel tank. And this up here is our fuel float switch, which is what's supposed to turn on that rear sending unit to pump fuel from that back tank up through this line into the front tank. And when that float switch doesn't work, and most of them don't nowadays, these are not available anywhere that I found. So most guys just run a toggle switch back there and pump the fuel up manually, but when you got hired guys and unexperienced guys, they don't remember to turn that fuel switch on, and there again you run a fuel out on the ground. So what I would like to do is figure out a way to plumb the return line from the engine, this little guy, that little booger, into here, and still have this guy hooked up. Even though it's a little bit bigger, we can surely figure it out. So I'm going to have to pull this line out, take that fitting off, pull this fitting out, and that's probably just a standard pipe thread, and go to town and see what we can come up with for fittings. I don't know if a simple a T would work, because then I think it would probably just push past. I don't know if it would work or not. So might have to do a T that comes in this way, and then the T's up and down so that it can go drain into the tank, and it can't push up out, push up out of the other T and into this 90. So we'll get this off here and see what we can go find for fittings. All right, here is our float switch. Let's go see what we can figure out with it. It's just got two little floats that are magnetic. There's a little magnetic ring in them. Let's go tear it apart, see what we can do. I don't know. Got to be some wires or something in there inside that little brass tube. This could be fun. Okay, so here is the little reed switches, and I'm assuming how they work is, let me slide this up here a little bit. You've got 3 wires up here in this little plug, and so the red wire is the hot wire. The black one up here is the ground. You can't see it, it's all covered in crap, but it's this one. So I'm assuming with the 2 little floats, they kind of sit right here. The switch would be open when the float moves up, as in not connected. The bottom one would be closed. So then when that top float, as in the fuel's getting drained down, closes this connection, and makes the circuit hot all the way down through this little bitty red wire, which goes up to the little circuit board, and with the bottom switch down here still contacted, it's turned off up here at the little relay, I'm going to call it. But when the fuel keeps dropping and it gets down here to this one and opens this contact, the power is no longer going up this little wire, and it goes up through only the black one over here, which then makes contact through the little board and turns the fuel pump on. And in process, I've never had one of these apart before, just kind of playing with it. When I pulled all this wire up out of that tube, this little reed switch got broke. It's just a little glass tube. Come on, focus. There we go. Just a little glass tube that keeps the 2 little tabs apart. And when it gets excited by the magnet sliding up and down, the magnet sliding up, the float sliding up over it, closes the contacts by just a little bit of magnetism, and therefore you have a circuit. Well, I'm going to try putting some heat shrink tubing over top of this. I don't know if it's going to work. We just got to see. Worst we have is a circuit contacted all the time. Well, shoot, my little switch in there is not working, so without that working, this whole thing is just junk. So I have to figure out some other way to maybe get it to work. Yeah, I'm gonna call tonight and think about that overnight. But I was goofing around with my fuel sending units. I put a new one in the rear last year, and I kept the old one. I thought, man, somebody surely could fix that thing and get it working, because that was the one that I bought. It was a special order, had to pay ridiculous shipping to get it down from Canada, and the last one available, and it was pretty dang expensive. But I bought it because I want the fuel sending units to all work properly and whatnot. And I bought the front one as well. But when I put the rear one in, it seemed like the front one was working. So we thought, yeah, we're good, we're going. And well, it quit working just basically a day after we drove it out of the shop last year. So I dropped the front one in a little bit ago, and I'll be darned, they're both working. So I took the old front one, which is this one, and brought it over here on the bench and was goofing around with it. Let me crawl over there and I'll show you. Okay, here it is. I've got it vice gripped together because I took it all apart, and essentially there's a little wiper arm in there, a little brass wiper arm. If I rotate it, you can probably see it. Let's see if I get my hand just right here. There, you can see it. That little wiper arm's got to rub those wires on the outside. There, I got the light turned on for you. Let me just get it to focus. Come on. Okay, you can kind of see them. It's pretty fuzzy. Come on now. Focus. Anyway, there you can see it. These are the windings right there, all the way around that. There's a billion little wraps of wire all the way from this end up over here, all the way down to over here. And as this wiper arm moves, here you can see it, it's got to make contact, and different spots on the wrapped wire equals a different resistance. Well, it's all gummed up and tarnished and so on. I took a little emery cloth to it, and I'll be darned, it works. So the one for the rear, it's laying right back there against the cab. I took it off the top of the toolbox and was goofing with it, and I didn't take it apart, but I worked the arm back and forth a whole bunch of times and checked the resistance on it with my multimeter, and wow, what do you know, it started working too. So I've got them both dummy hooked up. I had them both hooked up here and was moving the arm back and forth and looking at the gauge and whatnot and checking them, and shit, they're both working. So I'm gonna do the other tractors as well, but if one of those I can't get to work, well, then we've got a couple extras here. I'm just gonna leave the new ones in this tractor. I don't want to take them back out again. But anyway, it's cold in here, and it's getting pretty late, so I'm gonna call tonight, come back tomorrow and see if we can't get that float switch to work. Well, it's been a couple days, so I thought I'd give you a little update. I was doing an awful lot of searching online. I found a place that can make the float switches, and they can make them brand new. Hey, that's fantastic. So I'm not going to be able to get that one of mine fixed up. I found out why it had quit working. The little wire down on the very bottom had the solder come loose from the end of that reed switch, so it wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to turn the pump on ever. And those old wires like that do not like to take solder. I've tried many times on other projects, couldn't get them to work. Anyway, the top reed switch was broke, the glass was broke, so I couldn't get it to stay together and or make connection when I needed it to. But they're gonna make me new one, so not a big deal there. And my fuel sending units, I'm glad I kept my old ones. As I said, I was doing an awful lot of research online trying to find some place that could make new ones or fix these ones, and I'm glad I kept the old ones out of that tractor, as I found a place that can make me brand new ones identical to these, and I told him I had, you know, kept them. He says, "Hey, just mail them to me. I'll do my do the research on those and ohm them and see what." I said, "Man, they don't hardly work." He says, "That don't matter. I can do it." So I've got them here packaged up, and I'm going to mail them off to him, and hopefully he can make me some new ones. The only problem is, he said he's 14 weeks out from being able to look at them. Wow. So I got to get these things shipped off right away so we can get them done. Hopefully I can get a couple sets of them back by mid-planting season or so, and get those other 2 tractors fixed up. Anyway, this video is getting long enough, so I'll cut it off here and catch you guys later.